had no idea who I was, and I just remember going like, this is how it's gonna be. Like, I'm gonna literally have to make up a story of like what I'm going through, like why this is happening to me. At this point, it's like I had no idea what was gonna get me out of it.
She just wants to be beautiful. She goes unnoticed. She knows no limits. She craves attention. She praises an image she prays to be sculpted by the sculptor. There's a hope that's waiting for you in the dark.
Oh my god, this has been so annoying. I hope people are going to come back because I am so excited to talk to Miss Randy. I hope that this is going to work out. So Randy just texted me and said that if it doesn't work to talk about my story, well, I really wasn't planning on this at all, but I guess I'm gonna try to go with this. I don't want people tuning in live expecting to see Randy because she is still an amazing person and I want her to eventually get on here and give her time, but I guess it is appropriate since it's the first episode to talk about my journey and my fitness journey in general, how I got here, how I'm a coach, everything like that. So let's do this. So I basically grew up super chubby, like roly-poly status, and I was always teased throughout school on the way that I looked, and I just always was super body conscious from when I was little. I danced and, you know, you're in costumes, you're in tights, and I just remember at a super young age thinking to myself, like, why do I not look like the other girls in my class? So I remember coming home one day and literally saying to my mom, like, I'm tired of being fat. I'm tired of being called pregnant, a whale, like all these horrible names when I was just in grade school. And so her and I made it our mission that winter, it was December 1st, my diet or fitness journey started. And I lost 30 pounds at 9 years old just by walking every night outside with my mom and her teaching me portion size and when to treat myself. And it was awesome because I had never viewed food that way, but it's like looking back at it, like I almost saw it as like the start of like a new obsession, or like kind of like it created a monster in a way, because I feel like that is still a very impressionable age. And even though I had lost the weight, I was now starting to see food as like good or bad. And even though I learned very healthy habits, I feel like I became very body aware a lot younger than I probably should have been. So fast forward 2 years later, I'm starting to mature a little bit, obviously not completely, and I get called down to the nurse's office to get basically checked for my back. And I don't know if you guys have ever had a scoliosis screening, but it is like the most awkward thing ever, where you like bend over and they check basically how like lopsided your back is, and mine was pretty bad. I was diagnosed with scoliosis and immediately was, taken to a chiropractor and a basically general physician who believes in surgery and who's always going to push surgery. And so for a while, I thought I would either have to do surgery, or to prevent that, I had to wear a back brace for 16 hours a day. And I had to wear it underneath all my clothes. I had holes in my clothes. I used to be like pushed up against the wall in middle school by these like group of girls after lunch, and that took that body awareness to like the next level, because you look like a box. Like, it's underneath all your clothes, it's hard plastic, and it looks kind of like a corset, or it feels like one, I should say. And it was underneath all my clothes, it was putting holes in my clothes. And so I just tried to deal with that, I guess, on top of like maturing and everything like that, and my body changing. And so I got to an age where I no longer needed the brace, but I get out of it and I don't like my body, and I have to focus on it even more now that I'm out of the brace, and really see my body for what it was, that I had gained back the weight, obviously, that I was maturing, that things were starting to change. And so I started feeling horrible about myself. And with that, I started attracting the wrong people in my life. I had boyfriends probably too young of an age than I should have, and guys that didn't treat me very well. But because I didn't feel the best about myself, and I was obviously still insecure from like having a back issue, feeling like ostracized from that, and then also being the girl that was like always the tallest one in the class and always had to like struggle with her weight, I just like let them treat me like that. So I just remember having a low self-esteem, and then basically guys like that fueling the fire. So come high school, I am, trying to follow in the footsteps of my sister, who graduated 9th in her class. All the teachers, every time they called my name or knew who I was, they like knew me by my sister, my older sister, because of our last name. And they would rave about her. They'd like talk about how smart she was. And I just, I felt this immediate pressure freshman year that I had to like fulfill the expectations of like, not my parents, but I guess everyone that like knew my sister. And so I was the complete opposite. I was not an academic at all. I was in the art room all the time. I was creative. That's all I ever did. And I just felt like I wasn't enough, like that I had to be perfect in everything else. I had to be taking honors classes, and that being creative and having those talents like wasn't enough. So with that, I will never ever forget, it was the first snowstorm we had of the year, freshman year. And I was over at my best friend's house, and I had stayed there the entire day because it was a blizzard and we were like outside, sledding and stuff like that. And I hadn't eaten a lot that day because we were outside playing. And I just remember feeling this empty, light feeling, like I didn't have anything all day. And she had like offered me something to eat, and I was like, oh no, I'm just gonna like eat when I get home, like whatever. I had a big breakfast, like I made up something like that. And I will never forget when I got home the first time, like I literally lied about eating and had said, oh, I had eaten at their house, like I'm completely fine. And there was something going on in my head where I was like, wait, like less calories and more activity means that I'm going to be lighter, and I'm always going to feel this way. So I don't know why I remember that day so much, but it really was like the first time I'd ever skipped a meal, like ever, or realized like the reaction after, skipping food in general and restricting calories. So from there, I basically kept taking away meals or kept taking away calories more and more, like I would say each week. And the following month was the first time I didn't get my cycle. So we were on a field trip and I noticed it and I ignored it. And I remember like literally knowing deep down that there was something wrong, or like there was something missing, and I didn't do anything about it. And so that by that time it was like the spring, and I started to lose a little bit more weight, and I befriended a lot of like older people, and because I always looked older, I always like just got along with older people and was a lot more mature for my age. But regardless, I used going over people's houses and befriending people as like a means or an excuse to say, oh, I ate already, or we ate at their house, or we went out to eat, or we did this. And I kept like lying, and I kept that cycle going of restricting myself and then lying to my parents, and then, you know, overeating and then making up for it in the gym. And then I just finally got to a point where I wasn't eating much at all, and there were no treat meals, there were no special occasions. And I started to notice that when I was doing this, the more attention I was getting from those guys that treated me like shit, from friends that had never paid attention to me before, because they were saying to me, you look so small, you look so skinny, like, oh my gosh, like, what are you doing? Like, what workouts are you doing? Hey, Justin, what's up? Like, what workouts are you doing? Like, you're so tiny. And so I ate it up. I mean, having gone from being a super chubby kid all my life and being in dance and then having a back brace and being thrown up against the wall, people were telling me I was small now. So it almost made me feel like, oh my God, I did something right. Like, hashtag winning. Like, I just felt like I was getting above other people. Like, I felt more credible. I felt like I was being more heard by people. I felt like people were taking me more seriously the smaller that I got. And as fucked up as that is, I kept it going. And that led into the summertime, which led into concerts, which led into more freedom, which led into going out. And that was the first time that I had a summer job where I took my lunch to work, and I will never forget literally throwing it out every single day and packing food in front of my family in general when I would go to the beach with my friends, and immediately getting to the beach and burying it in the sand. And sometimes leaving food out and breaking it up into pieces and then throwing the rest in the trash. And that is probably the point where I was at rock bottom. Between July and August, I had gone from that snowstorm randomly in April to August. I went from about 125, 130 pounds to almost 90 pounds by August, and my heart rate was 35 BPM. I will remember getting up in the morning and literally just thinking about calories and what I would have to eat, meaning what I would have to fake in front of people, and planning around that, like 1 or 2 meals where I'd absolutely have to eat because there were people watching me. And I just remember that entire summer, it was just a cycle of getting other people to buy in on my lie and getting people to basically team up with me and say to my mom when she would ask them where we went out to eat, like, literally tell her this, tell her we went there, tell her we're going to the boardwalk. Like, I made everyone like buy in on my illness, and people were terrified. People that I was friends with, family members, even my cousin, she just said to me, like, I feel like I'm contributing to, like, if you were an alcoholic, I feel like I'm taking you to the liquor store every single day. Like, I know you're not eating. I know you're restricting yourself and you're killing yourself. Like, I don't want to be doing this to you. And I just made up excuses. I said, it's a digestion issue. No one else understands. I can't hold down food. And there was just excuse after excuse, like why I couldn't eat. And obviously, it was all, it was all my issue and it was all things that I was doing to myself. But it just, I think it took a lot of years to gain back that trust within my family because it was just like lie after lie. And, by the end of the summer, I just came face to face with doctors and they literally said, like, like, your dream of going to New York and being a fashion designer and getting in that industry and stuff is never going to happen if you don't take care of yourself. And the rate at which you're going, your body is physically shutting down. So you need to handle this or we're going to have to do it for you. And which meant obviously going to a rehab and getting feeding tubes shoved in me, which was a nightmare to me at the time. And so I just remember sitting, for whatever reason, I remember this really vividly, sitting in that doctor's appointment in the waiting room and looking at the little kids that were playing. And I just remember looking at them and I remember the dress I was wearing, everything, because dresses were the only thing that fit me at the time. And I just remember like looking at the little kids playing and going like, I wish I could tell you, like warn you, like to not do this to yourself. Like I was actually jealous of the little kids, like and how innocent they were and everything like that, because I was like, I never want anyone else to go through this. Like, why me? Like, why did this happen to me? And I just kept thinking that over and over again as I was looking at them. And so I saw a therapist, obviously, the entire time I was going through this. And I'll never forget, she said to me, you don't know why you're going through this right now, but you're going through it for a reason. And it's going to come out somehow later in your life. And so by the fall, I had basically been going through the motions of getting better and just doing whatever the doctor was telling me to do, what my parents were telling me to do. And I just, the first day of class, I was so nervous and miserable because I obviously was being watched now, my every little move. I did not look like the same person at all. And 2 rows ahead of me in class, a girl that I had grown up with, like a childhood friend, turned to the girl next to her after I'd walked by them and was like, where is Em? Like, they had no idea who I was. And I just remember going, like, this is how it's going to be. Like, I'm going to literally have to make up a story of, like, what I'm going through, like, why this is happening to me. And in a really sick way, and I can say this on camera, like, I loved the fact that I, like, had a problem, that people were paying attention to me, that people felt sorry for me, that these same people that teased me when I was little and were calling me a whale and were calling me pregnant were looking at me in like sympathy, or were looking at me saying, oh my God, she's so skinny, she's so small, she's so this. So every time I heard those words, I equated like small and thin and little with like good enough. And oh, thank you, Kelsey. Yes, I am here to serve. And so, yes, I just became, like, that became my identity now. And so even though I was trying to get better, I really wasn't, because mentally I was still bought into the fact that it was my mission to be the skinniest person in the room, the skinniest person. Thank you, Justin. The skinniest person I knew. I just wanted to have, it was just me and my illness and just be alone with it and have no one interrupt it or anything. Thank you, Randy. And it's just like I wanted to be alone with anorexia, and I didn't want anything to come in my way of restricting myself, you know, having my little routine of half a banana in the morning, a bowl of fruit for dinner, nothing during the day, and a huge coffee at night, and chewing gum all through the day. That was my diet, literally. And over exercising, so sneaking out on runs when my mom would go to work, and knowing that it wasn't good for me, I got to a point where it didn't matter. I didn't want to live anymore because not being alive was better than gaining weight and feeling my curves, looking at myself in the mirror and seeing any kind of body fat, and standing in the full-length mirror in the doctor's office the day that they weighed me in at 90 pounds, I could still pick out skin folds or anything, even with my chest fully exposed with like ribs and like everything, bones sticking out, like I could still find something wrong. And so at this point, it's like I had no idea what was going to get me out of it. And I still, talking to you guys, do not know what got me out of that mindset or what got me out of that cycle of waking up thinking about food, when I'd have to eat, when I could sneak out and work out or go to the gym, and, you know, go to bed praying that I wouldn't wake up. Like, I don't know what got me out of that. It was over time thinking and looking around me at the other 16, 17-year-olds and thinking like, I'm not living that life. I'm not a normal 16 or 17-year-old. I'm going to a nutritionist every week. I'm getting weighed in every week. I'm worrying about how big of a like hashtag thigh gap there is, you know, when I'm wearing a skirt or when I'm wearing jeans, how much my hip bones are sticking out. This was all I was thinking about. Not school, not activities, not hanging out with friends. There was none of that. My best friend was my mom the entire time I was going through this, and my sister. All my other friends were like, till you get better, see ya. It's been real, Em. Like, we've tried to tell you you look fine, and this is what happens to you. Guys at the time, like, were afraid to touch me at, like, school dances and stuff, so I didn't go to them most of the time, and I just felt gross. Like, I just felt like everything I was eating to try to put on back weight just went right through me, or it, like, stuck or clung to my body, and that I was, like, holding all this water because of it. But, yeah, I felt like an alien. And so fast forward to the end of the year, and my best guy friend, who I was like on the low in love with at the time, which is so embarrassing, he asked me to his prom, and I went and tried on prom dresses, and I'd probably put on like 10 or 15 pounds by then. Nothing drastic at all. And I remember looking in the dressing room and seeing every single bone, because the lighting's intense. It's like this like fab ring light I have going on. But you can see everything. And so I just looked like a boy to me, and I wanted so badly to fit in those dresses because I knew he didn't think I was pretty or attractive when I looked like that, and I had no boobs. Like, I know what goes through a guy's mind at that age. And I just said to myself, like, Em, like, you can do this. You can fit into that dress by the time of prom. And even though it was so painful for me to ever think about putting on weight, I guess it was like I knew that it was the only thing that was going to help me get over this, was the fact that like I could feel pretty for one night. And even though like it is, you know, it is belittling everything that I went through, and it seems like so stupid for a reason, I thank God every day that he asked me to go to that prom, because it was my only motivation to look and feel good and look like all the other girls trying on dresses at the time, and just look like a 16 or 17-year-old girl again. And so I started out with chasing the body, basically, and I started putting on weight quicker, and I got to a really healthy weight by the time of prom. I looked amazing, and I had a really good time. And I kept that up. I just said to myself, like, okay, well, maybe I can do this. Like, people are giving me a lot of credit. People are saying how proud they are of me. And I really did appreciate that. I didn't always take it the best, because I thought that healthier or you look healthy meant you look fat. And that took a lot to get over. And so it just all became about rewriting what healthy means, and what beautiful means, and what thin means, and having all of those things be okay, because you have your own version of each one of them, and no one is the same, and that's like the best part about it. And so I just more and more started to like own my body, and really just find a way that I could fall in love with fitness and not make it punishment anymore. So that is when I found the amazing world of lifting and bodybuilding and getting into all that. My first experience being on bodybuilding.com, and I picked up a pair of weights at the gym, and I did squats for the first time. And I remember this empowering feeling, like I was still in very much control, like I was with anorexia, but on a whole other level. Like I was actually benefiting from what I was doing. So it was a good kind of control rather than, you know, restricting and over exercising. So I got into, you know, bodybuilding and coming up with a routine for myself just based on bodybuilding.com and things my sister was telling me. And then I started working with my first coach, and honestly, that is kind of what inspired me to be a coach and got me really thinking about helping other women later on. By that time, I was already well into fashion, and with fashion came a lot of deadlines, late nights, and the option of not taking care of myself. And lifting was always that escape, especially in school when it was really intense, and senior year when we had to make our own collection and things like that. Fitness was always a way for me to get away. It was always an opportunity for me to share my story if I ever met anyone while I was still in New York who I saw was clearly going through an eating disorder. I would always talk about it, and I still do to this day, obviously. And so now it's just like being a coach and helping women identify with what is their healthy, what is their strong, and seeing how they can use a trauma or a breakup or an experience where whenever they didn't feel like they were good enough, as a way to propel them forward and rewrite their story. So I do this on the daily now, and it is the most self-rewarding job I could ever dream of. And, you know, the reason why I wanted to have on Randy as my guest, if you're still watching this, is because Randy, I have been following her for, I can't even tell you how many years. I lived in Portland by myself before I met Grant, and she doesn't know this, so if you're watching this, you're gonna die. I literally would watch your YouTubes. I would go on walks and I would listen to your YouTubes like while I was like out on walks. And I would act like I was like on the phone with a friend. I wouldn't talk back to you, but I would just listen to what you had to say, and you'd be like talking about your day. This is like your early vlogs. And you'd be talking about your day, and you'd be in the car and like going to the farmer's market and stuff. And like I felt like so at home with your content and with your message, and just you literally being you and having no expectation and just being like fucking fearless all the time with what you say. And yeah, it was just like, it made me feel like home away from home. And it really made me feel like maybe I could have an opportunity to do this full time and to share my story and to help other women. I mean, Randy's killing it. Randy's doing this. She's completely herself. She's not faking it. Like, I didn't even have to know you to figure that out. And so, couple years fast forward, I do a bikini competition, and my hormones are all fuckity fuck and out of place. And combine that with a history of anorexia, and it's like, what are you doing? And my adrenals were fried. I had a pretty good prep. I'm glad you're touched. You are awesome. I had a pretty good prep, but basically my body couldn't take coming off of it. Adding in calories and a good reverse wasn't enough. So after like month 3 of nothing changing and putting on a good amount of weight but no cycle, I was like, this isn't normal. And I remember it was the same time that I came across Randy's YouTube channel where she was talking about her experience with amenorrhea and competing. And I fucking wish she was on here and talk about this because it's awesome. But I promise we'll figure it out. She posted this video right at like the most perfect time. And so I watched the entire thing from start to finish. I even went to Vitamin Shop that night and literally bought all the herbs she had in her video. And I was probably taking way too much because she explained how she like cycled off of stuff and tried different things. And I took everything at once. And I just like, I don't know, I was desperate, and I was like I did not know what was going on, and my body was just changing. Like, my hormones were so out of whack. I was gaining weight for no reason, with tracking, with working out, and everything like that. And she just literally, all of her symptoms, what she was feeling about body insecurity and just her body changing after being a competitor, I related to so much. So I reached out to her, and yeah, we have been working. Yes, we have been working together ever since. So I got blood work done in November before I started working with her, and my estrogen, progesterone, testosterone were at 0. And 3 months later, 3.5, I got my blood work done a couple weeks ago, and found out on Valentine's Day that all of my levels have gone back up to normal. through dietary, lifestyle changes, stress management, everything. So all of those times of me boo-hooing about my body changing, about seeing a fat roll, about feeling heavy, just feeling bloated, things like that. All of, thanks Randy, all of those changes and extreme hissy fits were all worth it because I put in the work. Yes, we have all been down that road where we take what others take. Oh, yes, definitely. And yeah, so everything that I have been doing with her has been going pretty damn well. And guys, let me tell you, she has gone above and beyond what I would have ever expected out of working with somebody. Between literally talking to me almost every other day and like hopping on the phone whenever I need to talk to somebody, that kind of support, you just like, there is no like price on it. It's just like being a human being and doing this because you genuinely want to help the person and want them to get better. And I saw that from day one. Like the first time she like asked to like get on the phone with me, or like she sent me a voice note almost every other day asking how I'm feeling, asking what I'm eating, things like that. I was just like, oh my gosh, like I was totally blown away. And it was really surreal, like knowing that this was the same girl I was taking walks with, listening to her YouTube in Portland. So yeah, it's just been a surreal experience. It's been amazing seeing the parallel of everything that my body's gone through and knowing that like I can still do this. Like I got over an eating disorder, I can get over this. I can get over it with confidence, with grace, with hope, with faith in myself. And yeah, so I just wanted to be spontaneous and share my story with you because homegirl can't get her technology down. But I hope you guys enjoyed my story. This is a really long live. Thank you, you're strong. But go check out Randy, please. I am so sorry you didn't get to come on. You're amazing, guys. You have to go check her out. Everything she's doing on YouTube, on her Instagram. I will leave her information in the comments for you guys to check her out. And yeah, thank you for listening to my story. If you guys know anyone that would benefit from this story, from anorexia to being a roly-poly at age 7 to trying to gain back your cycle after a competition, share it with somebody, spread the love, spread the inspiration. And guys, I will see you in episode 2 of Amazing Life tomorrow. All right, bye guys.
You should know your